Hello, all, and welcome to Frame by Frame, where we take a closer look at iconic film scenes. My name is Jennifer Hahn.
And I'm Sarah Callan.
In this episode, we will be discussing a scene from Sinners. This movie came out a couple of weeks ago by the time this episode's coming out, and we just have to keep talking about Sinners because it's so good. Yeah, so if you want to watch the scene that we're going to be discussing today, check in our show notes for which scene or where you can find this film. I don't know if it'll still be out in theaters by the time this episode goes out, but this is a movie you have to see. Do we know, Sarah? It'll probably be out of theaters by then, huh?
Yeah, it'll be out of theaters. And I didn't find like a YouTube link for the full scene, so I don't know how people are going to be able to watch this, but where there's a will, there's a way.
Yes. Yes, indeed. So, Sarah, do you want to just give a brief description of which scene we're talking about today? I think people know which one.
Well, it is that scene.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you've seen Sinners, it's that scene.
Yeah.
If you need more information, it is the scene where Miles starts to play, and then the past, the present, and the future all combine in just a really powerful and awe-inspiring moment.
Yes, indeed. Okay, I guess we'll give a spoiler because there's just like plot points that we might want to have the freedom to talk about with this. So we're about to dive into the scene. I think it happens in the squarely in the middle of the movie. It's definitely in that middle section. So definitely lots of plot has happened by the time this movie this scene happens in the movie. Words. Okay. So Sarah, what makes this scene in the juke joint from Sinners so iconic to you?
I mean, just everything. This is a scene. So I watched Sinners twice in the theaters, and both times I was just in awe of this. It is brilliant on a technical camera level. It is just so cool on like a music listening level. The themes that are explored and expounded upon in this scene, it's bringing to life things that have already been teased out throughout the first half of the film, and then it sets up the entire second half of the film. Like, the more that I think about this scene and the more that I kind of dive into it, the more rich and beautiful it becomes. So I think this is one of those examples where every aspect of the production is working together perfectly to create something that is unique and just an incredibly immersive moment. And just the immense talent and technical precision necessary to create something that's this fantastic is just wow. It's kind of mind-blowing. So we'll get into all of that, but yeah, just this scene is absolutely exceptional. What about you, Jen? What about this scene in Sinners is so iconic to you?
Yes, I mean, this scene feels in a lot of ways like the thesis of the film, but also just this statement of the power of art in general. So there's all of that, which we'll get into. But I think on an experiential level, I just remember feeling the amount of emotional expression being poured out so freely and so abundantly in this scene was so moving. I feel like a lot of times in life and even in film, there's kind of these moments of big emotion that is able to be expressed. But I felt like this scene really allowed for truly this like outpouring is just the way that the word that comes to mind when I think about this scene, this outpouring of emotion and so many different like flavors of emotion too. There's pain, there's sadness, there's hope, there's freedom, there's joy, there's celebration, and it's all like mixed together in this really colorful kaleidoscope in this scene. And just to see that displayed and felt so fully as an audience member watching this scene was so moving. One thing that I think also really maybe worked from a story perspective with this scene is that Sammy being the one to usher in and ignite this outpouring of emotional expression also feels so meaningful because throughout this film, we've seen him feel really suppressed in his music and his ability to express. The opening of this movie is his father condemning him to put down his guitar, to stop playing music because it's dangerous. And you just feel that breaking free that Sammy has in this moment too, for the character that gets to ignite and corral and usher in this moment, this powerful moment, this transcendent moment. And I think that also really moved me at a higher story level as well, of Sammy getting to finally express with full freedom everything that he's been feeling, every bit of talent and gift that he's been given, he's able to showcase. And that in and of itself was also really moving for me.
Oh, that's a really good point. And I think even the way that Sammy's performance is set up leans into all that emotion too. Because, I mean, earlier in the film, Delta Slim is kind of like making fun of Sammy a little bit. Like, what does this boy know about the blues? What has he been through in his life? And then you see when Sammy's introducing himself, he's talking about this song that he wrote about his father. And so the beginning of the film, starting with that scene with him and his dad, and then Sammy bringing this song to this juke joint. This is his debut. And it is a song about his relationship with his father. And it has that pain in it too. And you can see on Delta Slim's face when Sammy starts playing, he is amazed. And like, this dude knows the blues. Like, this is going to transport us somewhere. And that deep emotion that is rooted in this song, I think is so important for where the scene carries us, and then where the story carries us too. Because, I mean, obviously the blues is filled with so much emotion and pain and all of that, and is built upon all of these songs throughout the decades, and all of these genres throughout the decades of people telling their stories. And we see Sammy continuing that in this song. So I love that you bring up the emotion of it all, because it's all present there and it's all coming out through music. And that's kind of the beauty of music, is that you can communicate all of these deep emotions through song. And then obviously where this scene and where this song transports us is really incredible, but it's all rooted in that very relatable emotion that Sammy is feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we're talking about this scene, but I'm going to talk about the things that happen right after this scene, because I think they actually make this scene even better and more meaningful. And it's this moment, this transcendent moment where Sammy is ushering in like the power of music across generations and breaks the space-time continuum. That is what summons the vampires to come. And I think that's just really cool. It happens after the scene. It's like not even in the scene, but I just love that because everyone universally can recognize when something has moved them deeply. And the vampires know that as well. And they want a piece of that. They want to wield and have some of that power that Sammy has, that music has, that this moment has. And that's what, like, I think there's like a shot of Remick and he's like a dog, like his ears perk up and he's like, oh my gosh, I know where they are, and so the kind of magnetic way that a like powerful art draws people in, but also kind of at a meta level, like the universal experience of when we all know, like, man, there's something here that is so powerful and so moving. We all take notice and we all collectively share and agree in that moment together. And so I just thought that was really cool too, because obviously Sammy's music ushers in generations of art and people and ancestry, and that's powerful. But then also, like even their foes, the vampires and non-humans also take note too and are moved by it. And that's what gets them to come. And like almost the scent, quote unquote, of the music travels far and wide to their noses.
And I love that in the juke joint, you also see the the Chinese dancers too. And so I love that it's this incorporation of all of these cultures, and it's like you were saying that this music that Sammy is producing is so powerful that it's not just limited to like a certain group's ancestors. It's not just Sammy's ancestors that are coming, but that's kind of teased up when we see the Chinese dancers in the Juke joint. And then obviously that sets up what we see with Remick as well, and how he knows that this is so powerful and he wants to see his ancestors too. So there's the second half of the movie. But I love that through those little shots we see so much about the world and how the rules of this iteration of vampirism works in the Sinner's universe.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned the dancers from other cultures because that's one of the moments where scene was already mind-blowing, but that moment when I see them on screen, I was like, this is profound. Like, this is saying something through this medium, through this story, through these people. But Ryan Coogler has a even larger thesis that he's looking to make, which is that this not only connects our people, this connects all people. And it's really hopeful as well to see that we have these mediums that really bind us together, that there's a picture of unity that we get to see on screen, of the dancers intermingling together and swirling together. And there isn't competition. There isn't a crowding out of space to try and like be in frame. No, they're just interweaving together in this beautiful mix. And that was really moving to see too, because we see just so much conflict between people that are different. But Ryan Coogler's kind of like, yo, we have a lot in common and we have a lot that we can share together too. Like, I want to be inspired by your music and your art. You come and experience ours and let's share and like have that collaboration and that interconnectedness instead of separation, competition, survival being the dominant forces.
And I love the way that the camera is so fluid in this scene. And I think that really helps you feel like you are in this room with everybody. And so it's not this like, you know, shot reverse shot kind of filmmaking, but it's so fluid. So you feel like you're there. You feel like you're one with them. Like we're all just having this experience together. And, you know, it is like those kind of like walls come down a little bit. And it's like, no, we're all just here having this great moment with this incredible music, just being odd in the way that, you know, the past and the present and the future are all combining in this one moment. And so I think that really fluid camera movement, and especially the way that the camera is moving through all of the dancers too. And so you're seeing how everybody is responding to this moment together. And then we as the audience are just along for the ride. And so I think the camera helps make this immersive, which then I think helps lend itself to a lot of those themes that you were just referencing.
Yeah, I think the one-shot nature of this scene is so essential for the like visceral experience of the scene because it feels intoxicating. Like, and I think that's what a lot of people feel when they experience great art and maybe music especially. It's just you kind of lose yourself in it and you're not thinking and you're just feeling and you're one with the crowd and you're just letting the emotions wash over you. And that this scene captures that feeling of being like in a crowd at a concert and you don't even know what's happening. Your body is moving one with everybody else to the same beat, swaying in the same direction. And there are no thoughts. It's truly an experience instead of a cerebral meditation on anything, you know? I had one friend describe one time when we were at a concert, she was like, it feels like we're all just like, every human here is a little pixel and we're all just like vibrating pixels together, forming this one larger image together. And I love that like metaphor and that mental image, but I also feel like that feeling of being like taken out of your body and just feeling what's happening instead of thinking about what's happening. That one shot really helps create that that intoxicating experience of like, you're just one with everybody here and you notice things, but then they zoom past you and you don't have time to linger on them. I think that's so vital. And also, how do you edit something like this? Like what pacing of editing? Like it's a kind of a also challenge to think about like the alternative of cutting together these different shots and how do you rhythmically pace that in this very musical scene is also different. So yeah, this weaving of the camera through the crowd was really cool.
And I also love how deliberate this shot is to help us feel rooted and grounded in this place. So as the camera is weaving through, we see where everybody is located on the dance floor. We see the background actors, and we see our main characters too, and how they're moving about the room. And I think that also helps you feel grounded. We know where we are in space as all of these really fantastical things are happening. And so that rootedness in place, I think, helps lend itself to being able to get lost a little bit in the music and the fantastical images that are happening. And so I love that combination, because I think if this were edited or maybe even shot a little bit differently, it might feel a little too over the top. But obviously thematically it's set up really, really well. But then I think the cinematography also helps you feel secure enough in like, oh no, we're still in the juke joint, but really interesting things are happening and we can allow ourselves to go there.
Yeah, it's not the opening scene of Babylon
Yeah, exactly.
by Damien Chazelle. Yeah, we're not like, oh my gosh, get me out of here. Like I'm overwhelmed. I'm stressed out. Get me out of this crowd. I want to go home. No, we're like, oh my, yes, let's weave into the next set of people. What will we encounter here next? So good. Any other last big thoughts about the scene? We could really talk about this scene for so long. There's so much to
Honestly,
unpack.
though, like we haven't even touched my notes.
Yeah.
So just two very quick things and I just touched on it, but the way that this is set up, there's like a flashback to Delroy Lindo's character, Delta Slim, kind of explaining Sammy's gift. And I think that that's a really important moment to help give context. And then we also hear Annie talking about, this spiritual principle that the scene is then going to show us. And I think both of those are really helpful in giving us context and help kind of ease us into the scene. So the Babylon example is great. We're not just dropped into this fantastical moment, but we are slowly we slowly make our way from the shallow end of the pool into the deep end of the pool instead of just cannonballing in. And I think that that's really helpful in making this scene so effective. We understand the larger context in the universe. We understand the ramifications for Sammy. And then we slowly see how everybody in this scene is responding as the music begins to change and how everything in the barn starts to shift. And I think that pacing is really smart and really deliberate. And another really quick thing is just the music in this is absolutely phenomenal. It's so cool to hear all of these different genres from these different time periods all combining into one. And I think it just so effectively shows the way that music is so connected to, all of the different genres are actually more connected to each other than we think. And I love that we see that in this scene, that these the future versions of music are built on the blues, and the blues is actually built on things from the ancestors. And I love that principle, and I think that that's so fun, the way that this film explores that concept in this scene. I could keep going, but I will stop because I think we're already over the length of time for these episodes.
Our little mental. But if this is indicative of how much we love this scene, my gosh, we can't stop talking about it. I also just want to shout out Kenny Sparks. We recently reviewed Sinners together with Kenny, and he has an incredible snippet in the middle of that episode where he talks about the juke joint scene and what that means and represents for him as a Black man, and being able to see that pride that Ryan Coogler is displaying on the big screen of, these things that were maybe deemed as not desired, we are proud. This is a part of our culture. And it's just it's so beautifully articulated and just really meaningful. So I love that snippet so much. I'm going to shout out that. I think it's somewhere in the middle-ish of our conversation. So definitely check out Kenny's thoughts about this.
We'll find it and we'll put that timestamp in the show notes. But
yes, okay,
that
perfect.
whole episode that we did with Kenny, if I do say so myself, was really good. Kenny just brought it.
Yeah.
So listen to the whole episode, but also be sure to listen to that snippet where he talks about that. It was so powerful.
Yeah. I think there's a reel of it on our socials that will be out soon, or will already be out by the time this episode airs. So go watch that snippet too on our socials. All right. Well, this is our scene breakdown of this iconic moment from the film Sinners. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Frame by Frame. You can subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you tune to your favorite shows. Drop us a rating and review, letting us know all of your thoughts about this scene from Sinners. You can connect with us on Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Movies and Us Pod, or on our website, andusmedia.co. Keep an eye on this feed. We will be back very soon with a Movies and Us review. In the meantime, we hope you have an amazing week, and we'll talk again with y'all very soon.